YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Ant the Barber coming back at you with another haircut tutorial. In this video, we're going to be doing a taper. I like to begin by brushing or combing out my client's hair. Shout out to Still 2 Comb for this dope comb. And the reason why I like to do this is I want to get the hair to lay in its natural direction. Alright, so I'm going to jump straight to the back taper. So I'm going to take my Andis T-outliner, which has the GTX blade, and I'm going to set my first guideline, which is going to be my bald guideline. This portion of the taper is going to be a little sped up, but the side taper and the shear work is all going to run in real time, so stay tuned for that. Now that my bald line was created, I'm going to take my Babyliss Pro Foil FX02, and this is the gold version, and I'm going to go ahead and completely bald out that whole guide. But when I get towards the top of the guide that was set, I'm going to use that flick out motion because I want to demonstrate a smooth transition from bald to stubble. Alright, so now that I have that guide balded out, I'm going to take my Babyliss Pro Gold FX with the lever open, and I'm going to begin to set my next guideline. And I'm going to give myself the same amount of space that I gave myself with the previous guide because I want everything to stay consistent with this taper. So once my guide's been set with the lever open, I'm now going to close my lever and I'm going to begin to blend out that guide. So I'm going to start from the bottom with the lever closed, and little by little as I go up, I'm going to open my lever. And each time that I do that, you're going to notice that that guide's raising up with me, but that's okay because that's exactly what I'm looking for. By the time I fully extend my lever again, that guide will be completely blended out. And I just want to say that I do see a faint line in the bottom of this taper where the bald line was created, and I try to remove it with the lever closed on this. So I will clean that up later in detail work, and I'll use my Andis T-outliner to remove that. So now that that guide's blended out, I'm going to take my wall #1 color guard and I'm going to begin to create my next guideline. So I'm going to come in with my lever open and I'm going to give myself the same amount of space that I gave myself with the previous guide, again because I want everything to remain consistent. So once that guide's set, I'm now going to close my lever and I'm going to begin to blend out that guide. And the only difference this time is I'm not going to open my lever as I go up. I'm literally going to begin to clean from the bottom of that guide right back up to where I just left off with the one fully open. Alright, so typically the one closed leaves some weight behind. So right where I just showed you, I'm going to come in with my wall half color guard with the lever open. And I'm going to attack right above that weight. And I'm going to remove it by using the fade down process. So I'm going to close my lever as needed until that guide's completely blended out. Alright, so now that I have that guide blended out, I'm going to come in with my wall 1.5 premium guard, and again I'm going to come in with my lever open, and this time I'm not necessarily trying to set a guide, but I am cutting it in a guide section. So once I do that, you're going to see again that I'll close my lever and I'll begin to blend from the bottom of that guide right back up towards the top of that guide where I just left off with the lever fully open. Alright, so right here you're going to see that I take my Andis T outliner and I begin to clean up his neck taper line. And the reason why I do this is it helps blemishes pop out once that line is set in, and it kind of gives you a little direction for your taper. So that's exactly what I was doing. So now we're going to get to the side taper, and I'm going to go ahead and run this in real time. And I'm not necessarily going to walk you all the way through it because I did just walk you through the back taper, and these steps are exactly the same. So right there you just saw that I set my bald guideline, and now I'm coming in and I'm completely balding it out. Remember, when I get towards the top of that guide right there, I use that flick out motion because again, I want to demonstrate a smooth transition from completely bald to stubble. Alright, so real quick, while I got your guys' ear for a second, I just want to say thank y'all. I just hit 7,000 subscribers. I think I'm a little over that today, but that's a really good feeling, man. It's a dope feeling to know that my content is starting to really reach people. And I don't think I'm the greatest on YouTube, or I don't think my technique's the best, but I definitely feel like what I'm offering you here is a dope system that you could trust, and as you trust it, you'll learn how to add your own little mixture and flavor to it. And once you do that, you're basically creating your own system, and I think that's super dope. So for those of you that reach out to me and you know, you tell me that my content is really helping you and that you're really starting to notice in your work, man, that shit feels really good to hear, man. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to give me that type of feedback. It's super dope. Shout out to my winners so far of the giveaway. Truthfully, I don't know who I'm gonna pick right now for the detailer. I'm kind of in a standstill right now between 2 or 3 people, and so hopefully by the end of this video, my heart will be led to choose the right person. But shout out to the winners so far. Shout out to the future winners. And you know, truthfully, I feel like we're all winners because we're all like-minded individuals. And it's like we come to this channel to congregate and just level and elevate each other up. And I think that's super dope. I also want to say shout out to Tito Beats, man. I really appreciate you, my boy. I always say this, but I feel like your beats just set the dopest tone and vibe to my haircut tutorials, and I really just want to say I appreciate you for that. Again, shout out to Steel Tooth Comb. I appreciate you, my boy. If you guys are not hip to these dope combs, hit that link in the description and go check them out for yourself. I stand by these and they're super dope, and I'm not gonna stop shouting them out until I see a Steel Tooth Comb in every barber's hand. I also want to say shout out to my boy at Barber's Gold. Right here I'm using the Gold Babyliss FX, but you guys clearly see that I rock a really dope gold setup, and you're not gonna see that in this particular tutorial. But anytime you see floss and gold that doesn't come from the factory, just know that it's coming from my boy. So make sure to check his link out in the description as well. And I'm gonna let y'all just ride out. So hopefully you're getting a lot from this right here in the real time. And you could see that it doesn't take forever, but you could see that I'm also taking my time and I'm making sure that I'm delivering a dope blurry taper to my client. Alright, so right here I'm taking the wall number 2 premium guard with the lever open, and I'm not necessarily setting a guideline, but I am setting a guide in his hair. You could clearly see that I'm starting to do it right now. And so what I'm basically doing is I'm beginning to connect my front taper to my back taper. So once I set that initial guide basically around the parietal ridge of his head, you're gonna see that I close that lever and I begin to just clean up some of that weight and that darkness that was left behind. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because my client likes a fuller look of hair on top, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna do my best to blend in the both and keep and retain some of that density and that weight right there, but also allowing it to transition smoothly into the taper. Alright, so right here you're gonna see that we're to the shear portion of this video, and my wife's actually gonna be the one doing the cutting. So what you saw her do right there was wet the hair to gain a little more control over it. So my client literally just wants a little bit more than the tips cut off, so just a basic trim from the haircut he just got about a week and a half ago. So what she's gonna do is she's gonna pull up her first section of hair, which is gonna be in the center of his head, and she's gonna make her first initial cut. And because we know that we're only removing the tips here, it's not necessary to cut in a guide structure. So she's just gonna pull up a section of hair, make her cut, re-pull up a new section right behind that, and continue to make the same cut that she just made with the first previous cut to keep everything consistent. Once she makes her way through the center of his head, she'll then make her way to the right side of his head, and then again to the left side of his head. Alright, I apologize to you about the angle that we just ended with in that last clip, but now I got the camera in my hand and I'm trying to demonstrate to you exactly what you just didn't see. So basically my wife is cutting in 3 sections on top of the head: the center, the left, and then the right section. And then what she's gonna do is she's gonna go around his parietal ridge and she's gonna connect that taper into the top the best that she can. Alright, so now we're on the parietal ridge side, and so what you see she's doing is she's pulling up a section of hair, she's pulling it tightly, and you could see that there's somewhat of a guide towards the top of her fingers, and so she's gonna use that and cut all the way downwards. And you see that she's angling her fingers like you would if you were doing clipper over comb. And so basically what she's doing is she's knocking down the length and the bulk and the weight that's in the center of that guide, and she's trying to connect the best that she can into that taper. And so typically you could get really close, if not fully knock it out, but sometimes there is some weight left behind, so we're going to show you how to go ahead and remove that as well. So right here she's just cross-checking her work, because once she combed out the top of the hair she noticed a little bit of weight, and so now she's removing that. So it's always important to to go over your work, whether you're doing fade work or you're doing sheared work. It's always important to do detail work and overlook your work, if that makes sense. So right here, she's doing a little shear over comb. She's still noticing some weight in that area that she's trying to connect into that taper, and so she's using shear over comb just like you would with clipper over comb, but she's choosing to use a shear instead. And like I said, my wife's really dope and she's got some fire techniques, so I really advise you guys to follow her. And if you're ever stuck in a situation, my wife's got a hella big heart, and I'm sure if you reached out to her, she would kindly respond back to whatever it is you were looking to get advice or education on, if you will. So you could see that she's making her way around his head, and she's just continuing to work at that weight to connect that taper into the top the best that she can. Alright, so now she's basically done with that shear work, and if you look at that hair, it's connecting already really close to being done. But there is still a little bit of weight, and I want to smooth it out the best that I can, so I'm going to use some clipper over comb. So right here I'm coming in with my wall magic clip with the original fade blade with the lever closed, but I am using the number 1 wall color guard. Sorry, that wall sounded really weird. Anyhow, so that's what I like to do, and the reason why I'm doing that is with that number 1 on there closed and that comb, it's basically essentially like a number 2 guard. And so I know that I initially set all that in with the 2 fully open, so it shouldn't be really hard for me to blend that in using this combination with the clipper over comb that I'm using, as far as the guard and the comb that I chose to use. And you could see that I'm using my clipper, or excuse me, I'm using my comb, and I'm coming in and I'm angling directly up. I'm not coming in like at a 90-degree angle or it is a slight 45-degree angle, because I'm just trying to soften some of that weight. And you could see once I do angle my comb, I'm just cleaning out whatever falls through the teeth of my comb. I don't know if it's called teeth, but that's what I'm gonna call it, and I assume that it just makes sense to all of us. So you could see little hairs sticking out, I'm removing them, and every time that I do remove hair, I re-comb it and I re-look at it before I cut anything again, because I don't want to overdo it. I just want it to naturally look like it flows from the length on top directly into that taper. Alright, so now that everything's coming together, I'm going to take some product, and this is Big Sexy Hair Powder Play, and it's a texturizing powder. And clearly we all just saw my wife do that shear work. She did not add any texture to his hair. But I want to demonstrate to you what this powder could do when I style him out. It's not going to be too crazy, but it's definitely going to give him some type of a dope textured look. Alright y'all, so here is a look at the final cut. I think it came out super clean. I also feel like this product that I used on top really complemented him well by giving him a slight textured look. Overall, I think it really complemented the taper that I gave him, and it just came together well for my client. If you agree with that, smash that like button, get active in that comment section below, and let me know. I also want to say that, as I mentioned before, my heart's a little torn on who I'm going to choose for these wall detailers. And what I mean by that is these gifts are coming from a real place in my heart, so there's real thought put behind it. I'm not just randomly picking people. So I'm going to set on it overnight, and I'm going to announce the winner for it tomorrow with the tutorial that I drop. So I appreciate your patience. Thank y'all for your support. Again, if you got anything useful out this, I ask that you smash that like button. If you're new to my channel, I suggest you stick around. It's only gonna get doper from here. I appreciate y'all. Be blessed and be a blessing. I'm out.